Hi, I'm Tom from Cannabis Legalization News. And lots of our leads over at CannabisIndustryLawyer.com are asking what contracts they may need as a licensed grower. That's a complex one, and we're going to go over a few different scenarios that might apply to your use case as a licensed grower. That term, being a licensed grower, it can mean something different depending on what state that you happen to be in. Why? Because Congress has not done its job and changed the law that 2 in 3 Americans want, having it be legalized. If federal legalization were to happen, you may only have 1 or 2 flavors of this type of agreement. Let's cover 3 of them really quickly: a master grower agreement, a lease and management agreement, and a white label cultivation services agreement. First, the master grower agreement. It's often used to hire an internal employee at the business. The reason for this can be to keep control over the employee and ownership of the business away from the grower, or because of regulations that prohibit the leasing out of the business or giving away too much control to somebody who is not internally an employee of the business. That's the master grower agreement. Master grower agreement sets out what the grower is expected to do and what the owners must pay for that performance. Maybe your master grower is actually an LLC and they've entered into a contract called a master grower agreement with another LLC that actually owns the company that has the cultivation license. You see, there's a line out there somewhere that says you can't go over this because of the regulations in that state. So you might not be able to enter into a master grower agreement as one company, an LLC, with another company, another LLC, that actually has the cultivation licenses. Some states do not allow you to lease out the license, so you might actually have to be an employee to be their grower. Other states, they take it a different way. For example, the second type of agreement is the lease and management agreement. This can happen in some states where the owner of the cultivation license has extra canopy space that his license has, and somebody comes along and says, hey, can I lease this canopy space from you? And they can. Now, this really doesn't apply in very many states, but it does give an upstart a chance to get into the industry without spending the millions of dollars it can cost to create a cultivation facility. Really, Arizona is about the only state that allows these types of lease and management agreements where you have growers leasing out the license that is owned by somebody else. It's an interesting style, and if more states allowed that, it would really reduce the barriers of entry that states, for example, ours, Illinois, more of a master grower style contract, and definitely not this next contract for cultivation of cannabis. And finally, we have contracts for cultivation services. You maybe own a dispensary and you want your own label of product in the store. You can call a cultivator and order as much for a specific price of particular cultivars that you want to be able to stock your shelves. Now, there might be shelf space agreements and other limitations that are set by other regulators. Cultivation services agreement has a special relationship between the grower and the actual desk at where it's going to be sold. It also allows non-cultivation license holders, because in some states you're not allowed to hold both, to have a method to get products that look like they are their own brands on their shelves. Let's cover shelf space agreements in another episode of Cannabis Legalization News. And if you like this type of stuff, if you have a license, subscribe to this channel and like all our stuff so that we come up in your feed a lot, and that way we can help change the laws together. If you're a licensed grower that has some contract questions, hit me up over at CannabisIndustryLawyer.com and tune into the podcast on Sundays. Consider joining as a member of the channel because they help us keep the lights on over here.